人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身是安百信仰。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者是无事于他人。学而思之兮不亦明乎？思而学之兮免有殆矣。有朋之远兮冷漠大洋，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。知之为知行，为之为不争，失之也行，圣人之教。为正于列行，别正有其所，雄心动之心，民心自负。立言切之兮为何之？中庸之道兮天下之至德。今人之迷兮不常看之人，小人反是兮君子所为。人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身是安百信仰。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者是无事于他人。学而思之兮不亦明乎？思而学之兮免有殆矣。有朋之远兮冷漠大洋，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。知之为知行，为之为不争，失之也行，圣人之教。为正于列行，别正有其所，雄心动之心，民心自负。立言切之兮为何之？中庸之道兮天下之至德。今人之迷兮不常看之人，小人反是兮君子所为。 人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百信仰。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？昔而学之兮，免有殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无怨兮，众僧之福。知之为知行，为之为不争。识之也行，圣人之教。为正于列行，别正有其所。雄心共之心，民心自负。立言写之兮，为何之？中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之迷兮，不常看之人。小人反视兮，君子所为。人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百信仰。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？昔而学之兮，免有殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无怨兮，众僧之福。知之为知行，为之为不争。识之也行， 圣人之教，为正于烈心，别成有其所，雄心共之心，民心自负，立业切之心，为何之？中庸之道，系天下之至德，今人之迷信，不常看之人，小人凡事细，君子所为。人为心之根系，欲乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。学而思之，习不以明乎？思而学之，习免于大义。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无远兮，君子之福。正于烈心，别成有其所，雄心共之心，民心自负，立业切之心，为何之？中庸之道，系天下之至德，今人之迷信，不常看之人，小人凡事细，君子所为。人为心之根系，欲乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。 我不语这戏，无视于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？戏而学之兮，免有大义。有朋之远兮，冷漠大言，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。知之为知兮，为之为不争。失之也也兮，圣人之教。为争于列兮，别争有其所。雄心动之兮，民心自负。礼乐切之兮，乐以和之。中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之迷兮，不诚恳之人。小人反是兮。
And we're live.
Hi there, and welcome to our book 3 of the Analects Apparatus. I am Desperado Sensei, and my colleagues with me are,
I'm Jack.
And I'm Income.
and we are going to the meat and potatoes book of the entire series, the one that's probably going to cause the most contention between me and the other people here inside this this apparatus, because this is the one book that's probably quoted the most by most people. It's also the most controversial because it's the most studied at the same time.
It's that we're not going to argue as much between you and I, or me and Ancom, or Ancom and you. It's going to be me and Ancom arguing with a 2,500-year-old dead dude.
Yeah,
So-
pretty much.
So, like, it's because here's the thing. Well, Confucius was great. He's also the fucking reason that fucking extreme collectivism is one of the most fucking dangerous ideologies on the planet next to fascism. Like, he didn't know that. He could not have known that with this time period, but we we're here we are. So, all right, go on, Despy, lead us off into fucking hell. And by the way, just so that you people understand, I was supposed to be leading us in Purgatorio today. I chose this because it's lighter work, and this is how we're talking about it. So imagine what next week's going to be like.
All right, so starting off with book 3, 3.1. The G family had, what is it?
8 ranks of dancers.
Sight? Oh, sorry. For some reason, it's not clear.
Hold on.
No, I can just, I'll pull it up here. It looked like sight, like someone did, like a C was there. Let me just grab it. I'll grab it myself because then it'll show up cleaner.
So I'll say on your side, just full make the streamed portion bigger instead of small like the rest of us, because the stream won't see that. Only you will. Oh,
Yeah,
and then it will
here
pop
we
up.
go.
'Up. 'Oh. 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 'Oh
All right, here we go. The G family had 8 ranks of dancers perform in the court of their family compound. Confucius said of this, if one can tolerate this, one can tolerate anything.
Okay, to translate,
throwing a little shade.
yes and no, because there is a certain wisdom to this, especially in this time period. But to translate
Yeah.
this into modernity for the audience, this is like going to a fucking kids concert that has ages 5 to 18 and everybody plays at the same time. If you can tolerate that, you can tolerate anything.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of throwing shade on the G family.
Well, yes and no. See, because here's the thing. For him, a master, or to be more accurate, the master in this region, in this time period of this type of thing, to show him the base students, like in a hierarchy of collectivism, was insulting. Or would be to anyone before Confucius' modality of thought. So like what he's trying to point out is don't be like the fucking kings of the old Joe, be like the kings of the new Joe.
Yeah, and the other thing is you're talking about a court. Okay. If we're talking about, even if the G family was really, really rich, the fact that you're having 8 ranks of dancers dance in that location like that, that is just like you just like professing how wealthy you are to everybody else around you, which is not something Confucius actually advocates for.
So yeah, it's like it is shade, but
yeah, and the other thing is that you're doing this in a court that's already going to be packed with a large number of people. And then you're putting 8 ranks of dancers trying to dance in this compacted court in a compacted space, and there's barely any room to move.
And now let's bring the human element that probably only myself and Desperado have even thought of in this moment. The smell.
Yeah.
This is not a fucking temperate region. This is a tropical region of China in spring because it's court time. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have 8 ranks of sweaty dancers that were probably practicing for the last 12 hours to perfect this, who are already sweaty, smelly, and stinky.
Plus
getting into a
everybody
room
in their
with
dress.
everybody else who's completely compressed with one another. You you can't pass a fart without 30 people noticing.
I mean the way I would have phrased it is you couldn't pass a fart in that area because nobody would be able to tell the difference. Because it's honestly like at this point, like it is shade. You are right, but it is also a way of speaking to all ranks, because at court is also one of the few times that the different ranks mingle.
Yeah.
So this is just as much. Well, no, you are right that it's shade, but it's shade and.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of I read it, and immediately after he says that, the gif of the kids, get the kids reacting to the insane insult.
The looping gif of the fucking black kids fucking I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
100%. It is that, but it is also talking to those kids to continue that analogy, saying, yeah, when you smell bacon, shut the fuck up. It's literally saying the same thing.
Yeah.
All in this one little compact phrase.
There's one thing that I will say that I know that both of you don't agree with, but I will say that is a common theme with Confucius, and it's basically it's not a problem to have a lot of wealth, but it is a problem to have a lot of wealth and not what is it take care of your local community.
No, see, that is where we agree with him. Where we disagree with him is in the concentration of power, which he is okay with.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
at that point,
if you're
a
gonna be
wealthy person that is community oriented is not a wealthy person; it's a wealthy community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
the problem with the concentration of wealth is the fact that it remains concentrated. If you're spreading the wealth around your community, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still don't like fucking billionaires, but we're not talking about that in this time period. This would be the equivalent if we're
No.
talking in modernity. These are your wealthy plantation owners, your millionaires, I mean, it's not a great fucking thing, but it's not the same as what we're talking about either.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And your side note.
And yep. On the G family, see note to 220. It was a great concern to Confucius that power in Lu had devolved from the legitimate ruling duke into the hands of three warlord clans, the Ji, the Meng, and the Shusung. Descendants of an earlier duke, the usurpation of power. Usurpation of power is linked to the matters of ritual usurpation, discussed in 3.1 and 2. It should be understood that the ultimate problem concerns of loss of power by the Zhou kings themselves, whose control of the Zhou state passed into the hands of regional lords after 771 BCE. In 3.2 and elsewhere, Sons of Heaven refers to the Zhou kings.
The only part I will disagree with him here on, because I think he has missed part of it, it should be understood that the ultimate problem is a concern of loss of power by the Zhou kings themselves. Incorrect. Loss of the Zhou culture is what Confucius... Yeah. It's a minor distinction, but an important one that I think he just missed.
It's a distinction with a difference.
Yep. And for those of you in the audience who don't understand why that distinction is a difference, because Confucius would have let that king burn at the fucking stake to preserve the culture. It had nothing to do with the power of the king. It had to do with the culture to Confucius. If he could have saved the to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, if he could have saved the Zhou culture and the Zhou king, he would have also slit his throat to save the Zhou culture.
Yeah. To reiterate a point we made during the what was it? The introduction. He was chasing mythologized past.
Yep.
So
yeah, he is.
Yeah,
he is the Chinese lost causer.
Yeah. What mattered to him was very nice. What mattered to him was preserving what he viewed as a golden age of culture and society.
Jack, that was in poor taste. I mean, Confucius wasn't a sore loser.
No, but he was he was essentially mythologizing a bunch of people who were sore losers.
Okay.
So, close enough. Especially considering this is quite literally government work we're talking about. Close enough for government work.
Yeah, if it was a hand grenade, it would have hit it.
Yeah. No,
I'll be right back.
Yeah, and to first of all not have dead air. Second of all, to explain why that is both accurate and inaccurate. The lost cause myth in America is well fucking debunked. It was debunked before it was created, but it is something that has persisted and created a lot of things within our own government. This is another thing. He is chasing a mythologized past that did not ever fucking exist, And he is, in doing so, creating governmental and cultural policies that will affect his his country for fucking years to come. So that's why the analogy works, but it is fucking mean. I thought Despy would be back by now. Now, the other thing I will point out is this is a slight misunderstanding, in my opinion, because he points out that it's the warlord clans here as well. Because it wouldn't be a usurpation of power if they were descendants of an earlier duke. It would actually be a reaffirmation of power. What he is talking about here is the usurpation, again, of culture. Because these people did not carry the same respect for the more stoic ancient Zhou culture. These particular warlords were fucking people who embodied the more decadent later Zhou culture that he's trying to say is bad.
Yeah, the 12
if we're talking about, so these three clans are said to be descendants of an earlier duke, but normally what you would expect in any sort of hereditary transfer of power would be, one of the descendants would receive the power and would become the duke. And clearly at some point in the past, there had been a usurpation of the land of the state, or at least some of it.
Mm-hmm. But that's heavily implied with the way that it's worded. Here's the history, though. These were essentially cousins of the guy who just died with no heir.
Mm.
They are literally in the line of succession. They just do not share the same culture. That is why Confucius has a problem with it. It has nothing to do with heredity. And especially not in China at this time, because heredity, in this time period, if you died without an heir, quote unquote, you never died without an heir unless you died in combat. Because you could always pick your successor. It was it was literally part of the fucking culture in any family, high or low, in this time period.
The other thing to keep in mind is that when success, or sorry, am I talking over you?
No, what I'm trying to point out is that yes, all of them would have been in the line of succession, but when this happened, only one of them would have been the successor. For three of them to be in power, two of them must have taken power when it was not theirs by right of succession.
Because because of what happened, the successor who died without an heir died in combat. It was then split up into the smaller prefectures that these people already ruled because he had no successor.
The other thing to keep in mind.
Good.
The other thing to keep in mind is that, like, even if there's no successor, and people are like vying for a particular, like, if you want to call it successorship, a common practice. What was it? If there were people that basically said that I have a legitimate claim to take control, or I have a whatever it was, splitting the land up was a common thing. This is why you had like the three kingdoms, as well as all the different warlords within the three kingdoms themselves, all split up into different land groups.
Well, there's that.
Why am I getting flashbacks of King Lear right now?
You're not wrong to have that interpretation. Only slightly. It is history not backing you up. That is tendency for human nature. But in this particular time period that he is talking about, this is before the Three Kingdoms period. This is the time period of the... I'm saying for Incom, so he knows. This is the time of the 218 kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And those 218 kingdoms were quite literally created by this very kind of land separation due to death and war. Before this time period, what was it, 40 or 50? It was a smaller number still a large number, but it was a smaller number of kingdoms before this. And basically, a bunch of fucking wars led to a bunch of fucking lack of successors and a bunch of fucking land splitting up, and actually led to more peace. Now, still warfare, but more peace because there wasn't as much concentrated power in any one of these groups. And then we get to the time of the Three Kingdoms in 800, right?
Nope, it's like 200.
Oh, sorry. It ends in 800. My mistake. Because then it becomes the two kingdoms and then the middle kingdom itself. Laterally.
All right.
Yeah, this
is how you learn, folks, is by having the ignorant dumbass like me on the panel so they can both educate me and you by extension.
Well, there's that, but it's also this is one of those things that, like, honestly, most people who study Confucianism don't know. This is a level of history that only history nerds like Despy and I are going to even pay attention to. Like, just to be completely fair.
Yeah.
Like, there is a reason that Mao was so able to corrupt these teachings into what he did. It's because they didn't know the actual history it was connected to.
Mm-hmm. Jack, do you want to take the next ones, or Ancom, would you like
well,
to?
Well, no, I'll grab these ones because they're quick and we won't have a whole lot of fucking discourse. I think when we get to 3-3, he's going to have a couple of questions and it'll be good for us to digress on it. That being said, like, I'm a communist. I'm not a fucking Maoist. Mao turned this shit into fucking nightmare fuel. Okay, now, on to 3-2. 3-2. The three great families of Lu had the Ode Peace performed at the clearing of sacrificial dishes in their families and their family temples. That really should be possessive plural. The master said of this, just how does the lyric, Lords of the realm come to assist. The Son of Heaven stands all solemn, pertain to the halls of the three families. Okay, so beyond my slight grammatical quibble, I'm also going to point out that this poem is in a particular meter, so this style of poetry in this time period would have only been done by a traveling poet. So this is also one of these kind of revered people in culture, even though they are not part of community.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
else? For this one here, well, the main thing the main thing to say in this is, like, the Son of Heaven is singular, stands all solemn, and they're saying pertain to the halls of the three families. So it's he's basically saying that, like, no one's following tradition.
I could agree with that interpretation. My issue with it is, at this time period, there is no true emperor, and therefore would know.
This isn't about the emperor. This is about the King of Zhou.
But even that, because of the way he died in this time period, Confucius should not. Never mind. Because to me, Confucius, living through the death of that king, knowing that he died without successor, this was the natural progression of the land. This wouldn't be living outside the confines of heaven or mandate of heaven. So, like,
it'd be living outside the confines of tradition, in the sense that the state of Zhou is not unified because there are three families.
See, that's my argument, because they were in a strong alliance. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, so I could buy the argument, and it's not completely unfounded. I just don't agree with it, because these three families were in agreement. They just weren't in agreement with Confucius. Like, I love my man, but dude, like, they just didn't agree with you. They agreed with each other really well. That's why they weren't at war with each other. Sorry. And there is no side note for this one. But yes, now this one that we're about to get on to you, Ancom, I'm sorry. It's not going to make sense. Good luck.
No,
All right,
I already
just-
I already read it. I'm already confused, but that's fine. Well, okay. I won't say I'm confused. Let me go through it, and then I can
Yeah.
say my thoughts. The master said, "If a man is not Ren, what can he do with Li? If a man is not Ren, what can he do with music?" So, as a refresher, because I had to refresh myself on these terms, Ren is effectively virtuous.
or benevolence. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Li is effectively culture, the
Yes.
customs of the time. So
Close
he's
Yes.
enough.
saying
Or etiquette. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If a man is not virtuous, what can he do with culture or etiquette? If a man is not virtuous, what can he do with music? Now, I feel like I kind of get this because of the way in which the way in which Ren was such a heavy part of Lee. Like being Ren was part of the culture, and so if you are not, if you do not embody this critical part of the culture, what can you do with the culture? At the same time, what the fuck does music have to do with this?
Okay.
It's very simple.
Yeah, I'll let him get onto the music here in a second. Now, the one thing I will add before he goes on is this is a slight exaggeratory effect that Confucius is doing here, because in this way of applying virtuosity, he is applying it as the Junzi, and he does not say as the Junzi here, which makes it slightly more confusing, because normally he is very careful to bring that concept into these ideas. So he is talking about, if a Junzi is not Ren, what can he do with Li? If a Junzi is not Ren, what can he do with music? And it is not said here as explicitly as normal. Go on.
Right. Well, and I will say it's not said here explicitly, because a Junzi is always Ren,
Yeah.
and a Junzi always does Lee,
Yeah, I know,
and that's
but
why.
I
But
understand that, but it's one of those things where if he had been a tad less esoteric, this fucking thing would
yeah,
be so less confusing.
it's the way to look at this here is that when they're talking about Ren, we think of like benevolence and virtue and all of this sort of things. Another thing that falls under Ren is empathy.
Mhm.
So, if you are not empathetic, how can you make music?
Or to put it
God
in
damn it, that actually makes sense.
there's that. Or to put it in a slightly less poetic way, if you do not possess the the sense of community, the sense of the whole, what will you do with music? For example, 4 of our most famous cult leaders used music to recruit people, and did so really effectively. I'll
And
point
suddenly
to
I'm reminded of all the mega churches with the worship bands.
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that may not be part of it, but no, I was talking like the leader of the Hashishin at Alamut, aka where we get the name Assassin. This is a man who recruited poor and desolate people out of the fucking streets with music and fucking hash, and created
Huh.
a cult of assassins that persisted for, as best estimate, at least a couple of centuries, if we're going to go by legend, about 2,000 years.
Wait,
The other thing,
I just heard you say something I want to clarify. Did you just tell me that the words assassin and hash have the same etymological root?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, they were
I love it.
assassin was originally the Hashishin.
I love it. Amazing.
so the other thing to
The
keep
game
it,
theory of Assassin's Creed has a whole new meaning.
Yeah. No, the eagle's nest, Alamut, that is the place that they take you. That is what they are talking about, is this person. The
Oh.
old man in the black robes that you meet in that fucking temple, yeah, that's this guy.
Okay.
So the other thing to look at this here is that with the second part is, if a man is not Ren, what can he do with music? It's more along the lines of like when somebody is like a Junsi and is experiencing Ren while making music. The purpose of that music is to share an emotion and feeling with the people around you benevolently.
Mhm.
If you're not doing that, then that means that you're trying to sell music. And if you're trying to sell music, Confucius is against that.
Or at the very least, you are trying to use music in a way that is not intended.
There's difference between paying a performer
Mhm.
and then paying for the song.
Well, and here's an example on why I drew the distinction I did. Confucius would be just as fucking against somebody performing someone else's song without their permission as he would of
Correct.
that same performer selling that song to another.
Correct.
Yeah, go ahead, make sense of that one in your head, Ancom. I've been trying to do it for years.
Honestly,
it still doesn't make sense to me.
wait. Honestly, that one actually does make sense to me, because it sounds to me like he was associating the art with the artist in such a way that no other artist could produce the same art. So even if a musician were to sell the rights of their song to someone else to perform, Confucius saw it as a betrayal of
Here's the hiccup.
bond between art and artist.
Here's the hiccup. He would be perfectly fine with that artist teaching this fucking song to somebody for free.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
Like I said, like I'm communist, Steve, and I'm like, dude, what were you smoking on this one? I kind of get it, but at the same time, like, what?
It sounds to me it sounds to me like he just had a very particular conception of intellectual property right.
Yeah, and
I
I've
was
been
about to say. I was just about.
Good.
That was the thing I was just trying to say, is like we have our first IP stand going back 200 to
I mean, you're not wrong on the joke, but I mean, like it makes sense in his mind, and therefore we have to try and make sense of it to a point. I still have no idea why he see the first two together make sense, but when you add the fact that he is perfectly fine with that musician or poet or painter, etc., teaching somebody that same exact style, same exact song, etc., for free, it loses some of the effect for me, at least to me.
Okay, so I think I can maybe synthesize this. So he viewed art as a gift to be given. If you stole it, or if you sold it, you debased it with that intent, right? Because to steal and to sell, both of these are profit-driven motives. Either you steal because you don't want to buy, or you want to use without giving
He's
what
doing
is
the thing
needed.
that we all do. You're forgetting.
I'm doing the thing.
You're doing the same thing we all do when we try to make sense of this. You're forgetting the fact he's okay with performers doing it for profit. Like I said, when you add all of it together, it doesn't make sense as a whole.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If someone came up and paid the performer to play the song, Confucius would be against that. If someone paid for a performer to come and play songs, Confucius would not be against that.
Yeah, it is so hard to wrap your head around, because our modern conceptualization of intellectual property, of art, are all 2,500 years more evolved than this. And I don't mean that to be like he's some kind of savage. It's just we are so far separated, it's like alien thought to our brain. and it's very
Okay.
hard to make sense of.
That little distinction between it's not okay to pay for a performer to play for you, but if you're paying them to play for a crowd, for instance, it's fine.
No, even for you just couldn't specify play this song. You couldn't do play Piano Man, so to speak. You couldn't do that.
Oh.
Yeah, like it's so fucking
No,
weird.
actually, no, that distinction actually makes it a little bit more work a little bit better for me, because he is conceiving of the choice of the art to make as being part of the value of the artist. So if you were to override that by requesting a specific
Oh, he's gonna
song, for
hate book
instance,
7.
Yeah.
See, that's the
sorry,
thing. I
this
get
is just-
you're. Here's the thing. We have gone through all of these harmonizations, and when we read through the rest of the shit this asshole has written down, or other people have written down about what this asshole has said, I should say, um, you're like, okay, somebody fucked something up somewhere because something doesn't add up. Because you're right. That makes sense with what we've read so far, and with what you
I'm not gonna
understand of
lie.
anarchism, and what I understand of communism, so on and so forth. But then when he is perfectly fine with somebody paying an artist to create a very specific song, but not play that specific song,
Yeah.
like it's what? Huh? Like you can make requests for composition but not performance?
It's
Okay,
more
that
it's
one's
more
weird.
along
Yeah.
but no, but it's more along the lines of that. In order for this person to be able to live and perform, they have to be taken care of, and they have to be taken care of by the community. So it isn't necessarily that we're paying for the person, in the sense that this person has like all of these requests and whatnot. It's something that this is like a gift, in essence, for doing the performance, instead of a salary or a wage.
Yeah, it's so odd because when we get to book
Is
7, he is perfectly acceptable with wages, and like
Yeah,
it makes no
gifts,
damn sense.
wages, and salaries have completely different cultural like implications inside of especially Chinese culture from 2,500 years ago.
Yeah, and not
So
and when
that
you
Well,
factor out now take that aspect out of it, they also have different statistical weight value to them as well. So, for example, I could hand you I'll use something that at the time was fucking relatively cheap, an ivory hairpin, and that be considered the greatest gift you were ever granted because I'm some fucking asshole lord. And that fucking farmer could give away everything he owns and it be considered a pittance to somebody who's of the same station as him. Because they're it's hard to wrap our head around this culture because it's so fucking weird.
yeah.
Like because the stations change every statistical weight and cultural weight of every action. This artist is actually at the second highest status to what we would call royalty or nobility. Poets,
they're
singers,
celebrities.
not even just celebrities, they are almost deified. Like there are actually temples to certain artists throughout China, or were. I don't know if they survived the communist revolution. But at certain times there were fucking like shrines, like 20-foot tall statues carved out of rock, Ancom, to fucking somebody who played a fucking what we'd call like a guitar.
Mm. So
Well,
it's interesting.
like a
Something Despi
biwa.
said.
Huh?
Like
Oh, sorry, delay caught all
you had
three of
said
us.
something about it's like if you you know if you pay them for the performance, it's different than if if they perform it and you give them a gift. and it just reminded me of PBS fundraisers of like you're not buying the thing, you're making a donation, and then we're giving you a gift, and like it's that it feels like that same kind of dissembling of what the transaction actually is, and honestly, that made it make more sense to me.
I mean,
Right.
you're
That-
not
Because
wrong,
I'm almost
except
thinking of
for
it.
no, but you're not wrong, except for if we did a PBS telethon, Confucius would send in the fucking army to fucking crucify us.
Fair. But like it made me think of it in the way of, in Renaissance Europe, you had artists who were cared for by patrons, right? They were and weren't paying for the art, but it was more about making sure that the artist had a good living standard. And in this case, it's almost as if the community is the quote patron of the artist.
uh, Slight correction: culture is the patron of the artist, not even the community.
Okay.
Because this
But
is
but
Confucius.
ultimately
Because
but
this is
ultimately
Confucius, not Lao Tzu. If we were talking Lao Tzu, you would have been 100% correct.
but ultimately like the community is the one caring for the artist because they are trying to follow Lee.
Yes, precisely. Yes, that is at least to Confucius. I don't know.
That's what I was
Yeah,
going for.
I don't know if actually everybody, even in his time period, understood that because, as we said, he wasn't. Um, how to put this? He was a little less than transparent in his messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this, you have a lot of people writing about Confucius and like different things being discovered on a regular basis from different students. I mean, if you look at the Tripitakas also has inconsistencies as well. Lao Tzu is riddled with inconsistencies
Oh, no,
everywhere.
absolutely.
I
I don't even want to get started on the actual comparison, but let's just put it this way. You know that little figure I show you of the Bible and all of its contradictions, Ancom? The thing with that kind of looks like a fucking rainbow? That
Yeah.
thing would have to be 5 times the size for Lao Tzu or Confucius.
Hey, at least in the case of Lao Tzu and Confucius, no one was claiming that they were non-contradictory.
No, the worse. They claimed the wisdom was in the contradictions.
Oh God.
I
Oh, wisdom is in the fucking hell.
I forget where it is. I think it's book 18. He even says pretty much exactly that. Like, not in those exact words verbatim, but that exact concept. It's either
Yeah.
book 18 or book 20. It's near the end.
All right, so
Yep.
I'm up next with 3.4.
Yes, sir.
Lin Fang asked about the root of Li. The master said, an important question. In Li, it would be better to be frugal than to be extravagant. In funeral ritual, it would be better to be guided by one's grief than simply to attend the ritual stipulations.
Okay, cultural fucking input here for those of you who are going to think that this sounds completely normal in Asia. Yeah, because of Confucius, they have these extremely fucking like ornate and varied funeral ritual and allowance for changing from ritualistic stipulation. However, just before fucking Confucius in this teaching, funerals were, shall we say, interesting in China. We are talking about a time period where it could go at anything from ancestor worship, being buried with fucking funeral goods, to being cremated, to literally being planted under a fucking field. Like, it is all over the fucking place.
Yep.
So, like, this is a revolutionary concept in this time period, because all of those variations that they were doing of like planting them under your crops, or fucking sometimes skeletonizing the corpse and planting it with funeral goods, etc., was ancient ritual from their pagan religions that he was trying to stop them from doing because they were literally doing it only out of ritual. Most of the people didn't even believe in those particular gods anymore, but they still did the rituals.
Yep.
So, anthropology aside, now we get back to the book.
All right, 3.4. Lin Fang was a disciple known for his rather slow-wittedness.
Yes, I will say that, but I would argue not slow-witted. He was one of those people, he didn't want to move until he was concrete. So he was an absolutist. I wouldn't say he was slow-witted. He was one of those people, until you could make sure you covered every angle, he wouldn't say yes or no. Fence sitter would be more accurate, in my opinion.
So he was Osiris.
Yeah.
I would say a little bit of a combination of Osiris and Tiberius, but yes.
Sorry, every time I hear fence sitter,
No. Yeah. Think of the aggression of Tiberius, but the fence sittingness of Osiris, and yeah, you have what I'm thinking.
Fair enough.
All right. So 3.5.
Oh, and one other thing, grief in this time period was also excessively long before Confucius's standardization back towards this mythical golden age that never fucking existed. Like 60 days to 190 days, like extremely long grief processes for families that would like burning shit that they needed for food and stuff. Like it was not good. It was not good. This is one of those times where religion was fucking people and they kept doing it anyways. Okay. Next. Better scroll down. The master said, "The nomad and the forest peoples who have rulers do not come up to the people of the civilized realm who do not." This one should really throw you for a loop, Ancom.
Well, it's the meaning. It's the fact that the phrase "come up" can have multiple meanings. So when I hear when people A do or do not come up to people B, I think like physically approach. Like he came up to me to have a conversation. So in this case, from the context, I have to shift that to be he's talking about come up in terms of like rank or worthiness or something like that.
Yes, although I would say, as this commentator points out, some commentaries take the phrase rendered "do not come up" to simply mean "unlike" and read the message as censorious to the zoocultural realm. I don't, and I would side more with Kimura's fucking commentary on this, where he is talking about come up in this is both physical location and proximity, as well as cultural influx. Because when you start talking to forest people and the nomads, they had individual tribal rulers. This was a varied form of government, and their rulers never left their lands. Chinese rulers did. So it is also a they don't come to us. It is we must go to them. Because when we get to Confucius's actual life, not the writings about him, he is the one who essentially preaches peace to the northern tribes and the nomads to create a more harmonious culture.
Okay. Yeah, this this is one where just the way it's written is too short to be able to get a clear message from it, because it's like, well, no, it's not just that it's too short, it's ambiguously worded.
Intentionally so, because I think, and this one I'd have to check the actual like chronology on. If the writing that this comes from is where I think it is in the timeline, This is before the preaching of said peace, because this is before he had said influence. Because remember,
Yeah,
as he became the master, he was the master quickly, but the master changed culture throughout his, what was it, 60 years of fucking teaching, or 50 years? It was a fucking long ass time that he was
I
alive
think it's yeah, it's
for the time
debated,
period.
but I think 50 sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like over 50 years, he gained prominence and authority, cultural authority, because he didn't wield it like a ruler as we would view it today. He did wield it, don't get me wrong, he wielded it like a motherfucker, but he didn't wield it in that way. He wielded it more like, won't someone rid me of this meddling priest? And like, like that's how he wielded his power, very subtly. um Also, the other thing I will point out is, while this translator gets this correct, I think he should have been a little bit more transliteralist as opposed on this one, because he should have called it the tribe people, not the forest people, as it would be translated more accurately from the Chinese. But that's just
Yeah.
me. I think he may have been doing this because that is viewed as kind of like insulting, but they were tribal
Yeah.
people. Like it's not an insult; it was just their form of government.
Yeah.
So,
All right. You got the commentary on the side.
well, I said that in the middle because I was bringing up
Oh,
that I think he's slightly incorrect here. That it's also the proximity thing of their leaders do not come into our lands; we have to go to them.
all right, Ancom, you are up.
All right. The G family performed the great Lu sacrifice to mountains and rivers at Mount Tai. The master said to Ran Yo, "You were unable to prevent this?" Ran Yo replied, "I was unable." The master said, "Alas, do they think Mount Tai less perceptive than Linfang?" That's a interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna need to read the commentary to make any fucking sense
well,
of that.
and Despy is going to have to help you a little bit on this one as well, because this goes into things beyond my anthropological knowledge. I know some of this, but this is a cultural thing. So Despy, you're up.
All right. Well,
Why
let me
don't you
read the
read?
commentary. Yeah.
Yep.
The senior disciple Ran Yo, often referred to as Ran Q, was a court minister to the Ji family. Mount Tai, the most prominent mountain in northeast China, was a sacred place. Only the Zhao kings and their deputies, the dukes of Lu, had the right to perform sacrificial rituals there. For Linfang, see 3.4. And then it goes
Yeah.
on.
You can,
Note, there
yep.
is an there what?
No, I said, yeah, it does go on. So,
Yeah. Note, there is an unfortunate overlap of names between the two major senior disciples who are frequently discussed together. One is most often called Ran Q, the other is Zilu. Ran Q's personal name was Q, but his public style name was Yo, and he is frequently referred to as Ran Yo. The family name of Zilu, a public style name, was Zhong, and his personal name was Yu. At times, the text speaks together of Ranyo, whom Confucius addresses as Q, and Zilu, whom Confucius addresses as Yu. I have added the modern Mandarin tonal diacritics to the otherwise indistinguishable names of these two disciples. And I'm not even going to try to do that because I've tried to figure out Mandarin
and
tonal.
you're just not guttural enough on these two. You're close enough
Yeah.
when
now
you were saying it.
this one here is yo, and then you have yo.
Well,
Those are the
Oh,
two.
okay.
but you're forgetting the what do they call it? The partial tone at the end of the second one, because it does get the you get the bottom of the larynx at the end of the
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is that he's talking about the tonal differences right
Mhm.
now,
And it
and
means
the
Yeah.
tonal
nothing to what
difference.
we need.
Yeah, the first tone is oh, and then the other one is oh, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yo and yo. Okay.
Close enough. And like
All
I
right.
said, and here's the thing. We are going to make mistakes along the way because we're going to be reading quickly. And when it really comes down to it, slight mispronunciations on the names aren't going to be as confusing as he thinks they are because we're not fucking pronouncing it, we're reading them. It makes it a little easier to understand the context clues because like when you're reading it, your brain is instantly going to start separating it anyways because of how he separates his phrasing. When they are in a group
'Cause
together or when they are isolated is when he uses the different names, and it becomes very obvious very quickly.
it's not Kiyu, it is actually Shiyu.
Yes, kind of like
I hate
SCH, kind of like SCH
It's
or
yeah,
XCH together.
it's well, the best way to think of it. What is it?
You just came in.
Think of saying voicing a ch sound, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not Q. It's more like Q.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
instead of
And I should
the
have
sound,
known this
it's like a
because
j sound.
yeah. I have a coworker named Ichin, spelled Yiqun. I should have known that, but
Yeah.
Well, no,
It's
because
okay.
here's the thing. If this had been QIUO, now that becomes CHX instead of XCH, and now you pronounce it different. So, like it's still close, but you're talking about a language that is tonal in nature. Like it is so fucking complicated when you get into some of this shit, and it's why I never fucking was good at Chinese. I'm okay at kitchen
and
Cantonese.
pinyin does not make it easier.
Yeah.
No. Here's the thing. Pinyin is for people that aren't Chinese to understand like a tonal difference, but there are still even more slight pronunciation differences on top of the tonal differences for the individual characters that the pinyin cannot point out.
And furthermore, that um dialectually change sometimes city by city. Like literally cities right next door to each other could say them slightly different.
Yeah. So the thing is that this person is probably translating directly from like Beijing, like if you want to say like a Beijing dialect, he's probably translating from like the Beijing dialect and using that pronunciation. The thing to remember is that all of the characters mean the exact same thing. So even if the pronunciation for the name is entirely different, the characters are exactly the same.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And last thing, I will only change from Beijing because of the slight mistakes I think he's making. I think he's translating from Shanghainese. I think he's one of those. I think he's one of the
Okay.
Just because he's made mistakes that sound almost militaristic, and that's more where you get that kind of military style language is in the Shanghainese.
The only reason why I would say that is that pretty much almost, and this is coming from somebody that took first year Mandarin in university. That even what is it when it comes to learning Chinese, the majority of universities that are teaching this, including what is it the language teaching universities in like Shanghai, they're still going to be teaching the Beijing dialect
Okay.
as the base form.
No, I don't disagree with you. What I was thinking is I think he lived there because he also seems to do the same idiosyncrasies at the end of sentences where he will do the kind of God, I can't remember the name of the fucking, because it's a very specific punctuation that they use, the wider circle with the dash after it that looks like an open period with a dash after it. He does that, and that's just again something associate more with northeastern China.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the way the university is set up. I've actually asked about that to like teachers, and they say, yeah, pretty much everybody teaches the Beijing dialect.
And
So,
that would make sense anyways because of the fucking standardizations and stuff. I was just saying this guy just because he makes weird mistakes that I don't see in other commentators and other translations. It just
mhm.
it seems like he is working off of some kind of interim material between the source material and what he is giving us. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I could be wrong.
So I just wanted to mention something that you said earlier. So earlier you said this was a tropical climate rather than a temperate one.
where
But the
where
mentioning,
he is in this well, let me rephrase that. Tropical is slight misnomer, subtropical because they still get seasons, but yes, this where he is
okay,
in China would be subtropical. So springtime in the areas around where fucking Confucius lived be very hot and humid.
okay, because I'm looking at where Mount Tai is on the map, in Jinan, and like just looking at the latitude, right? It's about the same latitude as South Korea, which I consider to be a more temperate climate. So I
Oh,
figured,
let me take you to Seoul in fucking March, my friend, and tell me that you think it's temperate.
Oh God! Hey, you know
fair enough.
something? I've been to southern Japan, and I've lived in southern Japan during the end of spring, first part of summer. What is it? Doing a study abroad, which is basically on the same parallel as Korea. It would give Texas a run for its money for
Yeah,
the humidity.
yeah, because
Okay, fair enough.
you're not wrong to look at latitudes. The part that you're forgetting is the sea effect and the inland sea effect that affects almost all of fucking southern China.
Yeah,
Well,
a lot
that's the thing is this isn't southern China. This is northern China.
Hmm. And what happens at
still
the edge of
that.
mountain ranges with the water
Hey,
and the heat.
Fair enough.
and here's the other thing. Keep this in mind as well, okay? The ocean current that comes around like around California, goes around and comes back around. It
Yeah.
brings all the hot air directly up through there, and
Mhm.
all the hot air basically it gets the same effect that the UK gets with the Atlantic what is it,
North
the
Atlantic
Atlantic
current,
Gulf Stream?
the North Atlantic
Yeah,
current. Yeah.
The North Atlantic current. They like China, Korea, and Japan get that same effect from the Pacific current.
Well,
Mhm.
it's
Okay.
technically the South China Sea current because it's the one that goes through your inland sea. But yes, same thing. It's still fucking tropical water coming up through that area.
Yes, that's why the typhoons
Yeah,
are hell
yeah,
in this area.
and you're right that this is quote unquote what people would refer to as northern China today. At this time period, half of Mongolia is part of what we would call China in their kingdom
Yeah,
states.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So what the commentator was referring to as Northeast China is not necessarily how they would have
Yes.
per- perceived it. Okay.
Yeah. Because the other thing is when we start talking about this, you also have to remember the way they oriented wasn't off of magnetic north unless they were at sea. They worked off of a star.
Oh, okay.
How much does Polaris move in 200 years? What's it? A
Well,
tenth of a
2000
fucking
or I was gonna say
ten,
200. It doesn't move
yeah,
very much.
yeah, it moves like
2000. Yeah,
yeah, it moves like a
it'll
tenth of
move
a
a few more
fucking meat.
seconds.
Yeah, nothing. It moves nothing in 200 years. So yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
constant. Whereas the magnetic pole moves at this
Oh, yeah,
time would have been moving anywhere between 40 and 80 feet a year.
yeah.
So yeah,
Hell, at this point, right now, the magnetic North Pole
is moving
is
miles a
moving
year.
a few feet a day.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
moving miles a year now. That's why I was saying in this time period when it was slightly more stable and we were in the more cogent portion of the Milankovitch cycle. Yeah, like dude, them working off of stars, they actually would have been even more oriented off of how they did these things than we are. Because they would have picked
Yeah.
the non-moving fucking stars, or what we would call constellation points. Now, that being said, when I say tropical climate, the last part about this is the mountain effect. You're right, this is near the mountains, but it's not on the other side of the mountains, which means it catches every bit of heat and water before it gets pushed up over.
Well, you say mountains. I'm looking at the topographical map, and it kind of looks like
Well,
Mount Tai
hell,
is a lonely mountain. Like,
no, it's got
doesn't
hills
look to be
around it.
much of
It's
a
not.
range.
It's not mountain range, but hills have the same effect. You know this. You've lived in California. All right, I think you lived in California.
Yes, I have lived in California. In fact, I lived I lived at the top of the Sacramento Valley, which means I was surrounded on three sides by mountains. I know the effects.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You know the hills, and you know the hills down in South California too. Same effect. It's
Yeah.
not as
Yeah.
severe, but it still happens. That's why they get the desert on the other side.
Okay. I was I thought I was looking at the topographical map when I wasn't. Now I am, and now I see, okay, yeah, there's actually a lot of much smaller hills in this region. In fact, Tainan is like just below Mount Tai, but it's kind of in this semi-crescent valley area, which I imagine would make it quite hot. Whereas if you're north in Jinan or Binzhou, you're probably going to get less of that effect.
And it's going to be less humid, etc. Oh,
Yeah.
and furthermore, the other thing is, the further south you go, don't ask me why. The more fucking clothes you put on in China, no fucking idea why they did that to themselves in that culture. But I mean, like you will see like multiple
Oh, okay. So
layers.
you're not putting on more clothes because it's hot. You're just doing it because culture.
It's a cultural thing. I have no fucking clue why they fucking do it, but yeah, they Despy, what's the ceremonial garb? It's like what, 12 layers of fucking shit
Or which now?
for the court city. I can't remember the fucking name off the top of my head. The Imperial City. It's like 12 layers
Oh,
of fucking yeah.
the Forgotten City?
Yeah. But I can't remember the Chinese name for it off the top of my head right now.
The only thing I remember with the 12 layers was marriage rituals.
Marriage rituals and all the priesthood. Priesthood wore the same garb. Remember, they just wore a different color.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean. Like the further south you go, instead of like when we get, okay, for those of you in the audience to why this doesn't make sense and why we're just kind of very quickly going over this. Usually, the closer to the equator, the more naked people are. Just think logically, it makes sense after that. We don't need to go into the anthropological reasons, but for some reason in China, much like in certain places in the deserts of fucking the Middle East, this is absolutely not true, and we have no idea why.
Well, it is worth noting that the further south you go, the more mountainous it becomes. The terrain in southern China is extremely hilly,
Yeah.
whereas the terrain in northern China is relatively flat.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's probably an elevation thing, at least to
Possibly.
some extent.
Well, because if it's elevation, then that would explain it for the nights. You'd wear it for the nights, and you just wouldn't want to change into night clothes, so you'd wear the same clothes day and night. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, the terrain view on Google Maps is extremely useful for this sort of thing because, like, I can see with like
I use
those
Airbus,
few
but
hills
same
I was
thing.
talking. Yeah, I like those few hills around Mount Tai and the city of Taiyan are nothing compared to the gigantic range of mountains down in like Jiangxi and Fujian province.
No, but when you then factor in valleys, pass effect, all the other things that we then have to affect into this. Now look at the wind map, if you can pull that up.
That one is going to be harder on.
Yeah, I might not be able to do it
Maps.
on Google Maps, but I know you can find them quickly because I pull them up all the time when I'm looking at storms or
Yeah.
something that's heading towards, like when typhoons are heading towards Despi, etc., or when that tsunami almost hit. I went to look because wind patterns will change because of tsunamis, etc. Yeah,
Yep.
the wind patterns in China, it just funnels all of that humidity inland. It's why it's so fucking fertile. It's like, honestly, on top of the glacier effect and all kinds of other stuff. And yes, we're nerding out waiting for Despy to get back because this has nothing to do with what we're talking about anymore. Because
Yeah, I
honestly,
mean, currently the winds in southern China are pretty calm. The winds in northern China, on the other hand, are quite a bit more severe at the
No, that's
moment.
why I said wind map, not current wind pattern. Wind map will give you the actual patterns of the airflows over time, and that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Yeah. You're looking at meteorological data. Look at climate data.
okay. That'll take me a
Yeah.
second to find.
Because what
I'm back.
awesome. Okay, so
I'm
we'll
back.
get on to your point here as soon as I finish the sentence. Because when you look at this, like when you factor in the glaciers and the wind, there's a reason China has so much fertile fucking farmland, even though they have a giant goddamn desert in half their country. The rest of it fucking absolutely banging
Yeah.
farmland. Okay, and we were on to you, Despy.
3-7.
Yes, sir.
Is it me? I thought it's.
It is you.
Yes,
It is me.
he just
Okay.
did 3-6, and
Yep, it is you.
and then we went on to a bunch of tangents while we waited for you
Yeah.
to get back.
That's all right. I've already indexed you in terms of mod, or indexed us in terms of mod 3. You're 1, Jack's 2. I'm 0.
Okay, so 3-7. The master said the Junzi does not compete, yet there is always archery. Is there not? They mount the Diaz bowing and yielding. They descend and toast one another. They compete at being Junzis.
Okay, for those of you, I'm slightly sorry for my friend's pronunciation. He's better at Asian languages than English lately. Dais,
Yeah.
bowing. Well, you can say dais. I say dais.
No, that is bowing. That is bowing. They mount the dais, bowing and yielding.
Yeah.
So he's talking about.
And I think here, because if you look again at the Chinese, this is ambiguously wording, because it also is a similar shape to a bow for bowing, because the way their pictographs work. He's doing this intentionally because of the way Chinese.
Show me it. I know it. I know what it looks like. Show me the pictograph. I can read it.
But what I was getting at is I think he is doing a little bit of wordplay here. Where is it? Put it in side chat. That is the Zhou pictograph for bowing in ancient Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, it also looks remarkably like their recurve bows. This is not a mistake.
Yeah,
That's all I'm getting at. I think he is doing this intentionally because of the way the pictographs in Asian cultures work, and most cultures, I should say. I can only name a certain few First Nation cultures where this isn't the case. Their pictographs look partially like what they're describing, or they end up abstractly representing it. Like, for example, the whole idea of war in Japanese looking like a combination of multiple women under the symbol for house, like multiple symbols for women under the same symbol for house. That's a myth, but it comes from this concept.
No, no, no. What is it? The what is it? No, what is the term? It's not three women under house. It's basically just characters of three women. Like what is it? What is it? Two on top and one on the bottom, I think.
I was meaning the myth, but that's what I'm getting at. It's either an abstract
Yeah,
constellation like that, which it does happen, but we use the myth here because they saw it in that one movie with fucking Wesley Snipes and fucking Sean Connery.
yeah.
Yeah,
It,
that part's a myth, but that concept is real.
No, 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 no. There's an actual word for it, and that they use for
Hmm.
it, and it has to do with with an unagreeable anger.
Yeah, but that is the thing I am getting at here. I think he's doing a little bit of both, and I think it would be bowing and yielding because he is talking about archery, and I think because of the way he does wordplay so many other times, I think he's doing it here intentionally because it is also the difference. Junzi, bow, and bow, because archery is not a hunting ritual for them. It is a leisure activity. Hunting is done with spears and bayers and
Oh,
things.
that's what it is. It's not agreement. It's noisy. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's all I'm getting at is I think that's what he's doing here. And the reason that I will say that with such confidence is because of the simple fact that I know historically in this time period, archery is not used as a primary hunting medium. They went out in groups. They did not bay with hounds like they did in Europe, but they did bay with people and sticks. And then people hunted with spears and fucking atlatls and things similar to that. Like, and the reason I say this is because those were easier to fashion and they required less skill. More people used them, slings, etc. Like this was common all throughout fucking Asia and Europe at this time period in fucking 500 BCE. That's me. You're looking at something, so
Yep.
I got something
Yeah.
to add.
Sorry. Something that popped up that I
Oh
was
no no,
looking at.
I was just wondering if it was something to add. Okay, Ancom, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, well, not questions exactly, but like when
Or
I was
comments?
reading this, and I read the commentary, which is pretty short, but they're talking about ceremonial archery competitions, so it's not even so much the archery that they're competing at. He's saying, they mount the dais, bowing and yielding, they descend and toast one another. They're competing at being junzis. Basically, they are competing at who can be the most cordial.
Yes.
Yeah,
I would say yes and no. They are also competing to be the ideal.
that's what I mean. The most
No, no,
cordial.
no, no,
I,
no,
I
no,
was
no,
using.
no, no, because that's the collectivist aspect. Here is the part where he is being um, condemning of the behavior. They are competing to be the Junzi, so that they are
Oh,
the
see,
the
he
cult.
just say they're.
I,
Well, okay.
no,
The
no,
wording.
no, no, no. I'm saying it's both. He's doing what you're saying, and he's doing this because it's both warning and blessing. This is an
Okay.
activity that is okay for
It's
Junzis, but it is also
it
a dangerous
here
activity.
here. Well, here's the other thing. Okay, if the two of them are competing at being Junzis, and the people outside are saying that they're competing at being a Junzis, then they're competing as Junzis. The second they internalize that they have to compete as Junzis, they are no longer Junzis.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, it is both. It's not he's not quite as bad as Dante, but he's pretty fucking close. When it comes to his double entendre of implication, because Junzis are the ideal, the idealized person, but they are also the person who can fuck the collective the quickest.
Hmm.
So they also have the most responsibility and the most danger surrounding them, not to them, from them. But go on.
All right. Who's Jack, I think you're up next with 3-8.
Well, I'll just
Yep.
the 3-7, the first ceremonial archery, patrician ritual. As I was saying, this was not common for hunting. They were far more effective with a fucking sling than a bow, because it was easier to fashion a sling and everybody could fucking have one on their belt. Like, it just is what it is. So this was a leisure activity, not a hunting activity. Okay. Jia asked, "What is the meaning of the lines of poetry? The fine smile dimpled, the lovely eyes flashing. The plain ground brings out the color." The master said, "Painting follows after plain silk." Jia said, "Then how is it that Li comes after?" And master said, "How Shang lifts me up. At last I have someone to discuss poetry with." So, as we point out, like, these people have multiple names. He's talking about the same fucking person. He just went to their personal name because he now feels that this person more is an equal. Therefore, he is no longer using his student name. He is using his more personal name in the second half of the sentence. This should be, to put it into a Western standard, this would be like a king calling you your majesty in this moment.
Yeah.
Or your
It's
grace.
basically right. It's something that happens especially in East Asian cultures. The second somebody drops a term that they use for you that will determine your social status in front of everybody else, the second they drop that, you have basically you basically become friends at that point.
Or they're trying to insult you, and you have to. That comes with tone.
Yeah, well, in this
Yeah.
case here, Confucius is excited, which means that he is naturally dropping that
Now I will.
yeah, what is it?
I will say this. I was waiting for this one to bring this up, and you guys, if you look, you will have seen this in every fucking stream I have done since you guys have had the camera facing this direction. This is normally up on that wall.
Is that Lao Tzu?
Yes. But
Okay,
who's he teaching?
I can't see it.
You can't, because the alms
I
bowl
don't.
is in front of his face. He's teaching a young poet. And it comes
Oh,
from
I couldn't
this.
even tell there was another person there. I thought it
No,
was part of the chair.
no, right here. He's holding his alms bowl up on
You're
his
you're in vertical
knees.
mode, so you're out
Nope.
of frame.
He's
There you
holding
go.
his alms bowl up, and he's kneeling as Lao Tzu is holding
Ah,
his
okay,
staff and teaching. He's teaching a young poet.
gotcha.
And I can't say, obviously, because the time periods are different, that this one comes from um it's the same poem that they're referencing, but it is just funny that I've had that on the wall this whole fucking time, and we're talking about Chinese poetry, so it worked.
Yep.
Now, the reason this is also elative in nature is because to do this to a student about poetry specifically, this is saying not only are we friends, but you are my intellectual equal, if not my better. Because poetry is the finite of the abstract. This is where you conceptualize the things bigger than the gods and smaller than the demons. This is the place where you conceptualize all the things you've never thought of before, is in poetry. Especially in 2,500 years ago China. It gets a little bit better in modern times, but not much. Despy can tell me in Japan it's pretty fucking bad even there. Like, this is still true
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
Poetry is one of those things that once you are conversing and dialectually dissecting in that culture, they will not do that with somebody they consider their lesser. Period. It just will not fucking happen. And I know that that's really hard to conceptualize. Like, I don't have a modern equivalent for this other than pretentious prick. But it wasn't like that. It was the caste hierarchy system. Like, it was foisted on these people. But it 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 is so ingrained, even in Japanese culture. You've heard Despi and I talk about Hane and Tatemai. Hone, sorry, I was about to correct myself the second you started to lean in. But my point is this is that as a conceptual concept put out into a cultural norm. Sometimes, and Despi, I know there's the quote unquote three face thing. There's things that you won't, quote unquote, if you were Japanese, you wouldn't even show your wife or your kids because of the way this thing is. Like, this is very ingrained into how they even think. So to share this, very, very, very important. It just doesn't read as powerful on the page, unfortunately. I don't know how to give it any more weight than I'm giving it, because like, this is jackpot. Like, this is that kind of fucking moment where
you won the lottery.
yeah, like this is that kind of moment, or you just found out the girl you've crushed on for fucking 10 years actually crushed on you too, and that it's that kind of fucking moment of pure joy would be overcoming this person, because this does not happen with nobodies. This doesn't even necessarily happen with family.
Yeah, this is the epitome of the scene from Step Brothers. Is like, did we just become best friends?
I mean, a little hokey, but yeah, kind of. Like, I mean, a little hokey, but yeah, kind of. That is what this is, and that cultural signifier, I think, is lost because, and maybe if somebody from China ends up watching this, first of all, I'm sorry, your government's going to hate us. But second of all, you could explain, because this gets lost in like modern renditions, I've found, and it seems corrupted into this kind of moot point by what Mao turned these teachings into, because like, to this, like, poetry is almost not viewed as in a high regard. Now this has been transitioned to business. Why is it now, when you're willing to talk finite business dealings, is this the moment of elation as opposed to poetry and community and people? Like, I don't understand. Like, and it's even more crazy to me that Mao is the one who fucking changed it into that, because he fucking hated fucking business. And so it makes even less sense. Like, so yeah. But for our English and American viewers, this is important. This is that moment of getting your tassel flipped to the other side, getting handed a beer by your dad, whatever the fuck it is for your particular culture that gives you that elative feeling. That's what this is.
Yep.
And I mean, that's about all this actually means, in my opinion, because the poem itself is talking about a pretty woman, obviously, but it is also talking about the emotions of lust. I looked up the poem. It is, I wouldn't bother. Like, it's not a great poem, in my opinion. Like, even with what I understand of Chinese culture, it's just kind of It's just one of those things, like the essentially Girl from Ipanema song. It's pop poetry for the time, but it still had the same effect here. Beyond that, I don't know. Oh, and the side note is what I brought up. Zia's personal name is Zhang, so it's one of those things. Like, the whole thing we've just been talking about is what the side note said in fucking a sentence and a half, just without any actual. See, that's why I don't like this guy. Like, that should be there. That matters. He's good at the translation, but god damn it, he He's like you. I see why you like him. He doesn't want to tell shit. He's like, they'll learn it or they won't.
Hey, you know something? We'll learn about that later with Confucius. He basically says that you'll either learn it or you won't.
Yeah, I know, but when it's in an actual referential text, you gotta give it more. Like if this was a we're gonna put the Analects as a coffee table book, okay. But this is supposed to be a reference book, asshole. Okay. The next reader, because the side note doesn't really add anything.
And comp?
3.9. The master said, I can describe the Li of the Jia dynasty, but my description can't be verified by its descendants in the state of Qi. I can describe the Li of the Yin dynasty, but my description can't be verified by its descendants in the state of Song. Not enough documents survive. If they did, I could verify what I say. This doesn't, like, this feels very different from any of the past stuff.
You mean the trust me bro in the middle of the book? Yeah, I know. Just a little.
Yeah. Well, it's more that, like, up to this point, Confucius is very confident about what he says, and now he's talking about the fact that he can't verify things of the past because there aren't enough records, and, like, it's just got a very different vibe from any of the other points that we have read up to.
Because as the side note's pointing out, he's bringing this up so much to bring up that these have changed dynasties, so to speak. The states are not the same. The descendants may be of some of the same people, but the rulership, the lineage, not the same. In doing so, what he is trying to get at is a trust me, bro, because you have to remember who he's speaking to. The way he said this, the master said, I can describe the Li of the Jia dynasty, but my description can't be verified by his descendants in the state of Qi. He is talking to somebody who is questioning his knowledge. He is saying somebody, we don't know exactly what they said, but probably something along the lines of, how can you know these things from so long ago? So on, so forth.
Like, so it's basically like me asking a neo-Nazi, how do you know this is how things used to be?
Or asking a Christian, how do you know this is what was true of this culture because the Bible told you so? Yeah, it's that. It's that same question that he's being asked, and this is his answer, which for 2,500 years ago, you kind of had to trust him, bro. We didn't have to get like, but when I read this, I'm just like, motherfucker, I'd have thrown your ass on the street if you said this shit to me. How do you know this? Oh, I can prove this if the documents, but the people who are there, they're not going to remember. Get the fuck out of here with that Bigfoot shit. Like, that's what this sounds like to me. But in this time period, I kind of have to put myself into the back. Like, this is a time period where, like, we know that, like, when people took over, they would burn documents and change whole histories, and like that was a thing. Like, and it happened in this time period No, but what I mean is it happened in this time period far more often than even the stuff that we're thinking about from, like, the Roman Empire a couple hundred years later, or the Holy Roman Empire a few hundred years after that, so on and so forth. Like, this was, like, so normal at this time period, you would have to trust him. Like, it was
I mean, go ahead. I mean, like, to a point, I get what you're saying, but also, like, it's still a valid thing to be like, how the fuck do you know this when there are no records? Like,
no, I am with you.
I have no alternative.
Yes.
Just because I have no alternative doesn't mean I have to trust your fucking stories.
Well, you do if you have zero education on this former dynasty. this guy's the master. He is educated. He is learned and studied. Yeah, I know. I know that argument from authority just made you want to punch me in the mouth, but that's what this was.
Yep.
All I'm going to say is that I deal with this on a regular basis every day at work.
Sorry, teachers. We fucked you up.
Every day at work.
Yeah. The American culture about school fucked up a lot of other countries. I'm sorry. Like,
No.
To quote Isaac Asimov, or paraphrase, I should say, there's a running thread of anti-intellectualism in America, and it goes back to its roots that says, my opinion is as good as your facts. Like,
well,
yep.
Except for, what is it? I had to write a document for the one of the schools that I'm at, and they asked me what my motto is.
Oh no.
That wasn't. I said basically that insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results.
Not bad.
The old apocryphal non-quote from Einstein.
Yes.
Well, okay. We say that it's apocryphal and non-quote. You have people who knew fucking Einstein and talked to this motherfucker in person who said it sounded exactly like something he would say. So I'll say it was close enough for government work, whatever the fuck he said.
Well, from what I could tell when I researched this, it was actually the what's the word I'm looking for? The spirit of the quote is misattributed to Einstein. The quote that actually is the closest to this was a friend of his whose name I have now forgotten.
No, I understand that. I looked at it too, but I've also read contemporaries like Feynman who fucking said sounds exactly like something he would have said. So maybe not something he wrote down, maybe something he said to somebody in passing because he agreed with his friend. Who knows? That's why I won't say it's truly apocryphal. Unsourced quote was how I would say it.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to the next one here. 310. The master said, "The great way, the way the great."
The side note. The last thing I'll say about it, the lose powerful neighbor to the north that he is talking about within Qui is also this is a racial bias. Sorry, I still do it. But it's also a racial bias because of the influx of what they call barbarian blood in other texts, because of the intermarrying between the Mongolian steppe people. There's certain racism within this that is not mentioned by the commenter. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So the master said, the way the great die sacrifice is performed from the point of the libation on, I can't bear to watch.
I would say he says its sacrifice is unclear. From what I know of this region, because it's not just China, this is also parts of northern India and fucking Siam and other places around Southeast Asia. What I would think this die sacrifice would be what you and I would call a harvest fertility festival. Die. We both did the fucking Latin. It is what it is, or Greek. Sorry. But my point is what they're talking about is what you and I would call a harvest fertility festival. And once the libations come out, what comes next at those festivals in this time period? At least that's what I would take it as from what I know of other cultures in the area when they say something like this. I could be wrong, and he could be right that it's completely unclear, but that's what I take this as, of you give in to your baser instincts, so to speak.
Yeah.
And considering his view on sexual intercourse in later books, I think that's what he's implying here. I could be wrong, though.
The other thing is that I think it's more along the lines of once what is it, the alcohol comes out, people are less inclined to use proper etiquette.
And that could be it too. I mean, this guy is kind of a pompous prick when it comes to etiquette. So, like, but at least to me, just from what I know anthropological of the region, of what they did at harvest festivals and fertility festivals, and what you know of the same fertility festivals that came over to your country from these areas, you guys have a fucking temple to fucking dicks. So, like,
But most of these kind of festivals would happen usually summer to early fall. It wouldn't be anything like late fall. It wouldn't be anything like that.
um, I don't think it's specified a time period here.
Yeah.
Uh, and the reason I say die sacrifice is because another way that you could view this is sacrifice of water, because again, look at the character. I would say that just based on its similarity to the Korean character for waterfall.
These don't have anything to do with the
I'm not I'm not
character. D doesn't have anything to do
I'm
with
not
water.
I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying historic, like ancient times, like it might be a loan word, like that they basically took from somewhere else, not the original,
Okay.
because it looks like a similar character in Korean, and their waterfall festival is their fertility festival. So like it's why I draw this comparison, and the fact that a libation starts the ceremony. How many other ceremonies start with a libation? I can't think of too many in this region. They end with libations. I can't think of too many that start with libations. It's context clues, and I could be totally off base because I only get so many fucking words here. But you know,
Okay, so I'll just read the note here. The nature of the D sacrifice is unclear. It appears to have been connected to worship of the deity D, sometimes pictured as a high god or alternative term
to
for
TN
Tien.
nature, and what I
Yeah,
Now, something I
go
something
ahead.
I found interesting here is that so it gives the symbols for the deity D as well as the D sacrifice here,
Mhm.
and the latter is just the former's name with an additional symbol that I don't know, but I do find it interesting.
Welcome to Oriental languages, and I know that term is very hated, but it is the proper way of talking about their pictographs. It is a group
Fair
of
enough.
languages for that region.
Yeah. Well,
I,
in which case you could call all of the European languages the Occidental
yes,
languages.
and I would if using it in the same context. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
and
other thing is
good.
that libations beginning at the beginning of the ceremony, depending on what this high god is known for, that could possibly be the reason why libations are brought at the beginning of the ceremony.
And I looked into the deity. Little is known about his actual spheres of influence. So that's again, I'm drawing it on
Like
parallels from neighboring
it's
cultures to draw it in. It's all I got.
Yeah, all I'm saying is like if this guy is known for what is it for like let's say starting the harvest or like before the harvest or whatnot, and the part of the what is it, the culture behind this god is this god gets plastered drunk before a harvest or whatnot, which is possible. There are certain gods that are drunk regularly.
Yes,
Okay,
one of their war
so
gods is a regular drunk, for
right.
example.
So part of that could be is that you give libations to the god and then partake in the libations with
Mm,
the god in
and
before
maybe
the
it's that
harvest.
finite. Maybe you could be right. Um, it could be very much a sectarian ritual where that's done, and therefore that's why I'm less familiar with any kind of parallels from the neighboring cultures, because sectarianism is always that kind of very hyper regional. But
Hmm.
if it is comparable to the neighboring cultures. That's where I would go. And the reason I would say fertility or harvest is because of the simple fact that those festivals in Asia always, always start with the libation. Always. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's
Hey,
that's just more
the,
universalism on my part.
yeah, but the other thing that I'd like to like just to bring
Yeah.
out in this is that when you're talking about a society in which what is it in essence, if this is going to be, what is it, a fertility festival in which the libations are supposed to bring about fertility, the majority of these types of festivals and whatnot are going to be held in the summertime, which means that if you're going to be calculating 9 weeks after the festival, you're going to be, what is it, birthing children during a famine.
You mean 9 months? You
Or
said
9 months after the festival? Sorry, 9 months after the festival, you're going to be birthing children during a point in which, what is it, the chance of having a loss of food or
yes,
less food is
but
going to be higher.
you're not wrong on that, and we know infant mortality sucked, but we also know that better nutrition in the first 2 trimesters lead to less stillbirths. So maybe this was a practice that they did to create less stillbirths, even though it still led to greater infant mortality. I don't know.
You know, all I'm gonna say is that it would make more sense for this to be what is it uh like fall related than it would be, but to me that just doesn't put the time it doesn't put it in the correct time period
Yeah,
with where the majority of festivals take place.
no, and I'm not disagreeing with you. The only thing I will point out, there is now this is going further away, but it is for a similar reason. So at least why I'm drawing this parallel, there is a similar type of libation type ceremony done for Ceres, the goddess of grains, and it is done long
Yeah,
before the harvest because you're praying for a bountiful yield to grow before it's grown. Like you do it just as the
yeah,
first sprouts come, and that would be what, end of
right,
April. So this would be
right.
end of spring, beginning of summer, not end of spring or end of summer, beginning of fall, which would move it, yeah, not still to a great time, but better than the starve time.
All I'm going to say is with a lot of different East Asian cultures, the high holidays, if you want to call them the high holidays, the majority of them are going to be held in summer.
Okay, I see what you're saying. And the only reason I again, I will just say it is a parallel culture. That's the only reason I said it. And I said I could be wrong. And we don't know, as he's pointing out. And when I looked into it, we don't know the full sphere of influence because of how ambiguous this is used. Because as he points out,
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes used for Tien, i.e., nature.
Right.
Like, so, like, I don't know.
The,
I'll just put
I,
it to we need
like,
somebody who's
I'm
actually a sinologist here, and I don't know any.
look. All I'm going to say is, and there's a reason for this. Okay, so and the reason behind this is that basically from April until May, sometimes into June, you basically have a rainy season where you can't get everybody together and have an event outside because trying to coordinate that with the weather sucks in the region. Okay?
And this one you'll have to actually answer because this is one I don't know from my education on the subject. Do the Chinese people have an aversion to rain? Because I know in Siam when it
It's
rains,
not
they
it's
actually do ceremonies like intentionally sometimes. So
right. But I'm not saying that there's what is it, an intention for rain. What I'm saying is that during this rainy season, you can get floods. Like it can rain consistently for like
okay, I see
7
what you mean.
days,
Yeah, you're talking the
10
logistics aspect.
days.
Yeah,
Right.
because I and where I'm
And
talking about, they don't deal with the floods from this type of
so
rain.
what I'm getting at is that there's
Mm.
not going to be anything for spring, right? Okay. When you get to winter, You have New Year's, which is going to be quote unquote a high holiday, but there really isn't much that comes between what is it, fall and New Year's when it comes to like major festivals or major celebrations. You're not going to have anything in spring, and you're not going to have anything during the winter months into spring, because that's where you're going to have like the if you want to call it a fallow period, where you're not going to have as much food to actually have a festival. So when you're going to be able to have a festival, and a festival in which all the tropical fruit is going to be ripe, and you're going to be able to have all of those sweet dishes like ready and able to be prepared fresh, it's going to be in either the what is it, mid to late summer months. And if that is the case, when it comes to a fertility ritual, that means children are going to be born during the fallow period. And if that happens, then that means like infanticide, what is it, could possibly like spike during that. So people would probably be less inclined to have those kind of, what is it, like rituals during that time period.
And I could see that, and you might be right, because this is again tangential information. Looking at the because I just looked up the growing cycles in southern China at this time period. Um, Apparently they harvested apricots in fucking November. Was the
Yeah,
normal
yeah, I
time
can
of
see
year
that.
for that, which would shift this time period by 2 months compared to what we're thinking of for the rest of the crops, because they'd have high density nutritious fruit for the winters that they'd be making into preserves and dry and fruit leathers and things like that.
Yeah,
Now, again, that's tangential information, because for those of you who don't know why he's a fucking farmer and I'm a fucking eco nerd. So I'm looking at this as this was a time period before standardized farming, where they literally just harvested when the crops were ready, and orchards were ready when they were fucking ready. Like
yeah,
you didn't have a choice when orchards were ready. You because you planted those things like 40 fucking years ago. like
right.
it is what it is.
Well,
It's one of those things.
the
Yeah, good.
The other thing to keep in mind is that what is it? Infanticide was a very common thing throughout the majority of the
Everywhere.
world,
Yes,
honestly.
well, everywhere.
and, and the thing to keep in mind is that what is it? Having children usually coincided with the amount of food that you could actually bring in.
Yes.
Nobody wanted to really have children during a time period where there's a possibility of not having a lot of food.
Furthermore, it is one of those things of a double-edged sword, because in the same time period, if you didn't have kids at the right time in the right years, you also weren't going to have food in your elder years, because you weren't going to have anybody to continue your family farm, and then you were going to have to rely on the beneficence of your community, which before Confucianism took hold, let's just say was less warm. um yeah, it was not good. Who's up next?
All right. Uh, I think it's what is it? You
Okay.
actually. I think you're
Someone
311.
someone
I think we
asked.
should stop at I
Yeah,
think we should stop at 313 because I will need to go to bed.
fair enough.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you
That
had to
puts
go to
and
bed.
that puts us halfway.
Yeah,
That
and
puts us
that's
halfway
fine.
through book three.
I thought we were doing 3 hours like normal. I didn't realize you were going to bed earlier tonight. That's okay. No big deal. Either way, um,
But-
I thought we were going to get through more. I thought we were going to, because that we have that heavy chunk at the end. I thought we were going to do that for part two, and get through all this quick shit. But I get you. That being said, okay. Someone asked about the explanation of the die sacrifice or desacrifice. The master said, I don't know. A person who knew that could manage the world as though it was open to his view right here. And he pointed to his open palm. And it's the same fucking side note. And again, this is why I still think it is that harvest fertility festival aspect of it, because he only speaks about chaos in this way when speaking about coupling between the sexes in a non um reproductive way. Specifically reproductive way, is when he talks about things in this kind of like chaos where it's like, if you could control this, you could fucking control anything. Like, that's when he talks like that. So it's like, like, I could be drawing too much connection to his fucking complete fucking prudishness later. Maybe that's just me that I'm drawing that, but it's where it comes to me, because he only seems to talk about humans in this chaotic state when he's talking about us drunk, fucking, or fighting. And I can't think of a festival where it's fighting. At least not
No,
specifically.
fighting happens at festivals.
No, yeah, but I can't think of a
festival. Not planned.
Yeah, I can't think of a festival in China that's specifically about fighting. Like, I can't think of one, and the only ones I know of are in like the oceanic countries. I'm sure there are others, but it's the only ones I know of. I don't know of any in China, so it's why I don't think it's that, and why I draw the other conclusion. Because he definitely isn't talking about fighting, in my opinion. And let's be honest, he's kind of fucking prude. Let's see, through most of this book, he's kind of a fucking prude.
You know, I'm just going to throw something out there. I wonder if Confucius was ace.
He may have been.
Yeah.
Or he may have been kind of Pauline. Sex is only about procreation. It shouldn't be a recreation.
Yeah.
It's the other. It could be either. You could be right. He could be ace. Maybe, man, fuck. For all we know, that's why Paul was the way he was. Is that he was ace and he fucking wanted everybody else to fucking live like he did. Who knows? But it seems to be a combination of one of those. Like, it just seems to be, because if he's not ace, he's really fucking prudish. And if he is ace, he's still prudish, but at least now it's not because he's prudish, it's because he doesn't fucking understand it.
I think it's not like honestly, from what I read with him, he comes across as being completely disinterested in the topic whatsoever.
Okay, and I guess this is a historical thing, because I know it was accepted later in Chinese history, like around the turn of the millennia, but I don't know about specifically homosexuality. How is it viewed in this time period?
Don't know.
I don't either. I'm wondering if maybe closeted could also be a potential.
Could
because I know it was accepted about 500 years after this point to be fairly normal, but I don't know about this time period.
In all honesty, I don't necessarily. I think it was one of those things that it was like it was either probably like a don't ask, don't tell, or people just took a blind eye to it, because you couldn't really like exclude people from whatever commune that you were in, because that could have like detrimental effects to the commune itself.
I'm just saying, I don't know, and I don't want to speak, so I'll say it's probably one of those three that he was, because it makes sense that it was to his writing. No, I'm just saying it's one of those.
I think it's one of the. I think it's either that he might have either been closeted, or he might have been ace. And the reason why I say it's not the other one is usually, and all like, what is it, when it comes to people that are being prudish, they tend to be rather ruthless to people. What is it that don't have the same level of prudishness as well? And Confucius isn't ruthless. He just seems like disgusted and uninterested.
No, and I can grant you that, but he's prudish in his judgment of them. He's dismissive of them as less enlightened. And that's why I think it's slightly bold.
But if you actually look at like Lao Tzu, have you read about like Lao Tzu, like traditional like Taoism, on his views about sex?
Yes, he makes fucking
the guy's a fucking prude.
Yeah, I was about to say he makes Pope Pius X look fucking damn near hedonistic.
Right, right. I mean, and that's what I'm getting at here. Like Confucius maybe be like these people are less enlightened because they're spending their time doing other activities. It's not like he's like saying like they are the scum of the earth because they partake in particular physical activities. He's basically saying that
Okay,
they could spend their time doing other
okay,
things.
and for the audience, the reason that we're talking about this, there's a point later, I think it's book 11 or 12. He basically refers to the fornicating animals, and he's not talking about farm life.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
that's
I think
that's where I'm getting my
the
prudential judgment.
yeah, right. But you see, you look at this as prudential judgment. I don't see it as prudential judgment. I see it as him basically saying that people are wasting their time
And
doing
no, no,
activities that
that's why I grant you, you could
are
be
not
right.
inclined to learning.
No, that's why I grant you, you could be right, because usually when he can be ruthless, and he makes rules against certain things that he wants to be ruthless against. So he's not above that, and he doesn't do that here. So or at least if he did, it didn't survive.
Lao Tzu does. Lao Tzu definitely does.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I say maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. I would still say prudential because of the fornicating animal dehumanization. Man, he's so good about it in almost every other aspect except this. Like he almost the only time he doesn't he dehumanizes somebody is because he makes them spirit or god. He doesn't usually like debase them in the dehumanization. He makes them better. Except
Right,
for
right.
about fornication.
Hey, okay, so I know we've made jokes about like Lethe and whatnot, and Lethe being Asian
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But this sounds like something Lethe would say if Lethe was somebody that was talking about people like getting like educated and spending so much time doing things that are not going to lead them to have a better
No,
education.
I'm with you. It's just one of those things. And for that, for those of you who don't know, because he hasn't been on, our friend Lethe is a streamer. He is a black gentleman, but he looks Asian as a motherfucker for some goddamn reason.
Yeah.
His genetics, he looks like a fucking Mongolian man. Like it just,
Yeah.
like he just does. And therefore we make jokes about him being either Genghis Khan or so similar things like that. But he's ace, and he would say some shit like this. But that makes
Yes, he would.
But that makes sense to me in the 2020s. That makes less sense to me in a time period where having as many children as possible was usually how you prospered. like
Mhm.
like it makes my brain's going, okay, culturally I can make sense of this. Anthropologically, it makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
We're only in book 3. That happens quite
I
quite a
know.
few more times.
I know. Okay, now the last thing I'll say about this before we move on, the last reason I will say that he is um abstractly dismissive about this in this way, points at the palm of his hand. There is a more cultural signifier to this than there is in America or Europe. Pointing at your hand in Asia, depending on what hand you point at, they don't specify here which one he does, unfortunately. Depends on whether or not he means it to be an insult or not because of what hand you wipe your ass with. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So, if he pointed at his right hand, this was, they're just silly gooses. He pointed at their left hand, they're fornicating animals.
No, no. This guy is just pulling something out of his ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's partly this to the cultural significance that we were missing here that would have been to the person who asked this question, who saw the body language, would have gotten that. I don't know why they didn't write down, because they write it down at other times. You fucking prick, whichever fucking student wrote this one. Because like
Right.
they other students have better fucking note taking abilities apparently.
Let's move on to the
Yep,
next one.
Yep.
Who's
All right.
up?
That's me.
Okay.
Sacrifice as though present. Sacrifice to the spirits as though the spirits were present. The master said, if I don't participate in a sacrifice, it is as though there were no sacrifice.
I.e., even if you're a fucking atheist, do the fucking ceremony.
Yep.
Yeah, fair.
I mean,
The note.
and I'm being slightly hyperbolic there because he's about to read the note. But no, like he is meaning this because community and culture matter more to them. So he to put this into a American equivalent, be a cultural Christian if not a believer. Go on.
No, to put it into Christian terms, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Yeah, okay, same thing. We said the same thing, just you used scripture.
Basically, when you attend church, even if you're a non-believer, go with the flow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it makes people like me who is a believer fucking absolutely not like this, and why I fucking hate organized religion entirely. This is fucking poison, you asshole. Sorry. You arguing with a dead guy.
Yep.
Go on.
Don't worry, we all do it. We all do it all the time. Okay, the note here says the most basic form of religious practice in ancient China was the ceremonial offering of food and drink to the spirits of one's ancestors, who were pictured in semi-corporeal form, descending to partake. Commentators sometimes stress the phrase as though in the first clause, taking it to imply skepticism that spirits actually are present. The first part of this passage seems to include both a cited maxim and a comment explaining it. It is unclear which, if any, portions are to be attributed to Confucius. The second part of the passage appears to be interpolated as commentary on the first part.
And here's the thing. I think they're all fucking wrong. Because other commentators say roughly the same thing. No. As though present is not about spirits. It's about you.
Yep.
As though you are present. As though you are a part of the community. As though you are the part of the whole.
But then the second clause of the first part says sacrifice to the spirits as though the spirits were present. So like if it's a clarification, then that would seem to go against your interpretation.
No, because he's saying you are treating your ancestors as you treat you. They are still part of the community. They helped build it. It's the same thing. It is you present in the moment, in the community. This is about you, not the spirits. The spirits are, don't get me wrong, spirits are important to this because they believed in them. But what I'm getting at is this is about the person, not the spirit. You have no control over the spirit.
The other thing is that this is also a performative task. It's a performative task that you have to show reverence to in front of everybody else in the community. And if you are just going through the motions and not actually doing it, your collectivist society will notice that, and then you will be basically split apart from everybody because you're not following the rules.
Or you become the first stone that starts the first fucking rapid that starts the decohesion of said fucking practice, and now others will start phoning it in, etc.
Right. It's a destruction of Lee.
Yes, and that's why I say it is about the person, not the spirits, because the spirits are dead. Everybody does that. The spirits may affect life, but they do not control life. Nor does life control the spirits. All you control is you. This is about you. It's what he focuses on fucking all the goddamn time. It's just missed in this because he's speaking poetically.
Right. And the other thing is that when we are talking about ancestor worship in East Asia, what is it that the belief is that when you are actually praying before a shrine or praying before anything that deals with ancestors, where you are supposed to place sacrifices, they even do it to this very day. Like
Yep.
this is not something that has changed in like
Just
in
quantities
it
given
is
has changed. That's all that's really changed.
quantities given, and what is it like there it doesn't have to be like traditional in the sense that you have to go and like harvest the tea, dry the tea, and then
Yeah.
make the tea, make sure the tea is in a handmade ceramic thing, and then serve the tea, and then that like finishes the ceremony. A lot of people nowadays just put down a plastic bottle of tea on like a
Yeah.
gravestone or whatnot
Yeah. And
for stuff like that. What I'm trying
yeah.
to get at with this is that when you do these quote unquote sacrifices, uh, the people that are giving the sacrifice don't actually view it as like a sacrifice in what what you have a concept of a sacrifice of them giving up something. It's more along the lines that they're giving something to someone else.
Yep. It is a
So if you
gift.
have that in your if you have that in your mindset, instead of like them having to give up something, as like what is it as something being taken away from them, then that's the kind of mindset you need to have
Yeah.
when they're using sacrifice here.
So to paraphrase this, give gifts as though present. Gift giving to the
Yes.
spirits as though the spirits were present. The master said, "If I do not participate in the gift giving, it is as though there were no gifts given." It is this,
Yes, correct.
because sacrifice to most people in Western cultures is sacrificing valuables, sacrificing lives, sacrificing burnt offerings to the gods, so on and so forth. We think of it as very Hellenistic or Mesoamerican fucking terms. And that's just not how Asia viewed it almost anywhere. In fact, it's not how most of Africa or even a lot of Northern Europe viewed these things either, but that changed later. It's just,
And
yeah, good.
depending on which particular ancestor this could be to, or the to group of ancestors this could be like done for, there could be a specific practice in which, let's just say, this specific sweet was made every year for these ancestors. So your sacrifice isn't you like bringing grain in or slaughtering a chicken or something like that to these people. It would literally be that your family went out, you made this sweet from the materials that you bought or whatnot, specifically for the ancestors, and you gave this sweet to the ancestors as a gift, and that was considered your quote unquote sacrifice.
Yep.
The issue that we run into this is that when they use the term sacrifice, people kind of associate it with a Christian idea of sacrifice. When they talk about sacrifice there, it's best just to think about it as gift giving.
Yes.
There
The
are very
only,
few sacrifices.
yeah, I was about to say, and they will be very specific if it is an actual sacrifice, because
Yeah,
there is a secondary portion that goes along with it, where there is usually either blood or symbolic blood associated, ink on a page sometimes, etc., that goes along with this, that does not go along with the gift giving sacrifices.
right.
Yeah, but this is
So,
cultural stuff that we will touch on later, so it is good that we're getting to it. All right.
and is it me that's last?
Yep.
Did we read the note?
Oh, no, we did not, but we should. Ancom
Okay.
Nope. Yep. No, we did for this one. Yeah, we did.
312.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we did,
Yeah,
because
I
I pointed out I disagree
Yeah.
with him. Yeah, just because I think it's missed, because he's focusing on it as it was later interpreted out of the Red Book, as opposed to how it was taught in early China, and we see like the teachings from, even the Three Kingdoms period, where this is all about the people in the moment. It is presentism.
That's the Han Dynasty.
Well, I thought it was Han Dynasty and into the next one that was still the Three Kingdoms. But
Yeah, but
yeah,
the majority of what you're going to be talking about is going to be Han. So
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at is these things continue and to be about the self in the moment and presentism, as we would call it today, um, alongside collectivism, as opposed to purely collectivistic as it later becomes.
yep. All right, so we've got 313. Wang Sun Jia asked, "What is the sense of that saying? Better to appeal to the kitchen god than the god of the dark corner." And the master said, "Not so. If one offends against Tien, one will have no place at which to pray."
Okay, and
The
Tom,
fuck?
take a crack.
All right, let's take a crack. So first of all, I have no idea what is meant by the kitchen god or the god of the dark corner.
The kitchen god is quite
Especially
literally
as
that, a
even
god of cooks, and the god of the dark corner is the god of nature.
so the god of the dark corner is Tian here.
Well, in this aspect, yes.
Okay, yeah, that part was not at all clear. And then it says, if one offends against Tian, one will have no place at which to pray. Given that Tian is nature, that means one can, one who appeals to the god of nature can pray anywhere, and if one offends him, then there's nowhere because everything is in nature.
Partially.
Tien is polysemic, or what is it? Polysemic?
Yes. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
but now here's here's the part that Wan Shungjie is also a folk hero's name. This is a person who is named after one of their folk heroes that Despy can go into next week. But it is also, this is goes back to book one. This is, you have to have appreciation for the field, or there's no food to cook. Just like you have to have appreciation for the wood, or there's no wood for the woodcutter. It's the same.
okay.
It's
That makes sense.
yeah. It's the same thing. Just fucking him putting goddamn gods into it.
Yeah.
It is the same concept, though. The difference is because it is ambiguous, and you never know what he means by Tien. He could mean the high god. He could mean the god of nature. He could mean just nature. He could mean weather. It literally could mean all of it at once, and only one at a time, and we have no fucking clue. That's why
The lovely confusion of ambiguity.
and I think he does that on purpose, because of the fact that it makes you go, well, who's the god of the dark corner? That's the god of everywhere. That's both the high god and the god of nature. But which one's which? They're both, and neither. And yeah, because that's also how their folklore works. Go on.
I would say in also just to say that the way that I would have read this here is like, if one offends against Tien, in this case he's talking about what is it, the holy court more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's not talking about like the weather. He's not talking about the god of nature. He's not talking about all this. He's literally talking about the holy court.
Which is also another implication that I just didn't list, because this thing has so many goddamn ones. It's easy to fucking skip one,
Right.
or 10.
Right.
But yeah, you could be right. But here's the thing: even if it's talking about the holy court, it's the same fucking implication.
The reason why I say the holy court is because you cannot offend against nature, you cannot offend against weather, and what is it? You can offend against the god of nature, but in this case here, I think it's more along the lines of the actual holy court in what is it, in heaven, is why this one is written the way it is.
And like I said, regardless of which Tian it is meaning, because even with that meaning of it being the higher court, it still has the same implication. You cannot offend against your community. You have to respect the
Yeah.
foundation to respect the
Yeah.
whole.
No, I was just
Yeah.
pushing back against that. It's like it's all of them. It's all of them, one of them, one at a time, and we can't know which one it is. And I was like, well, I could probably nail it down.
I can say you're probably right, but you could also say just as easily this one you can offend against nature because he talks about that with the damming of the river, and I forget which book now, is an offense against nature, offense against Tian. Where he talks about the
You're gonna have to show that to me. Like I'm gonna have to read that later. But
yeah, and this is for later, but that's all I'm getting at is because I think
Yeah.
it could be either, and because the implication remains the same, I don't think it matters which one overall he meant.
Yeah, probably not.
Because when you then factor in who was the god of the kitchen, everyone had a different one. Or you had your house gods at this point in time. You're praying to your house god over the god of the high god or the high court, as you put it.
Yeah.
You have misunderstood and taken the high for the foundation and reverse things. He's still saying the same message again, no matter how you take this.
Well, I think it's more along the lines of like I think the question that the folk hero, the Wang Sujia, was asking is like, isn't it better just to pray to one god than having to pray to multiple gods? Is the implication that he was trying to get at with this here? And what Confucius was basically saying is that no, you need to follow Li, follow tradition, follow culture, and by following culture, you won't offend heaven or the heavenly court.
I could see that, and I guess well, I still think it ends up at the same point. Wang Xingjie, I didn't think about that being his implication here.
Mm-hmm.
I took this just because of the other ways that he is used in other stories, and perhaps that's my mistake. To him being, is this not the wisdom of the common man? Not his question of actually wanting this, but it is him questioning the master about how other people think and like what's the difference, etc. And so on.
Sure.
And so I didn't take it as potentially him meaning it. Isn't it better to actually appeal? But you could be right because I was basing it on older stories, and some of those are much later, like fucking
Yeah.
like almost modern by comparison.
All right, so I'm going to read the footnote. And after failing to succeed in reforming the politics of his home state of Lu, Confucius journeyed from state to state in search of a worthy ruler. Here he is in the state of Wei, and the powerful ministers of war is suggesting by means of analogy with customary ideas of household gods that he, rather than the Duke of Wei, is the key to political access in Wei.
And with that implication, all of this all overtone that we have just been talking about goes away even further, because this is even further of, wait, you're that far out of balance, because this is now becomes an admonishment.
Yeah.
This is because of the power station, the choice of words, the fact that he exclaimed something to a position of authority. Yeah, this is an admonishment. This is not, I mean,
Yeah.
it's saying all the same things we were saying, but it's saying, so like, are you fucking stupid? Why are you doing something other than this? That
Right.
gets added in as well.
Well, and if that's the case here, then that probably even more solidifies the fact that he's bringing in the holy court.
No, and I could say you're right, because it doesn't change the implication, and I can't draw any reason why it wouldn't be. Like, it's just like, it's one of those things. I still will say the ambiguity is there, because it can mean all of these things at once and only one at a time. And we don't necessarily know which Confucius meant, because for all we know, the fucking person that took the note down missed a word. And that's what I'm getting at, because did he write this note at the moment, or after the meeting, or years after the meeting?
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't
Well,
think we know. No, I'm talking
he
the
didn't
student.
write shit.
No, I'm talking the
Oh, okay.
student.
I was about to say.
Yeah. Did the
Yeah.
student take the note
Confucius
at the
did
meeting?
write.
Yeah. Did the student take the note at the meeting, just after the meeting, or years after, when they were reflecting on it around a fucking, koi pond? Like,
Yeah.
like that's not clear in this, and therefore I don't know if this is perfect, or if we are just getting this person's perception of what happened. That's why I say it could mean all of it, because Confucius is fucking ambiguous as fuck all the goddamn time, and he does it intentionally, and you know it, and you know it. You're pushing back, and you may be right. You may be right. I'm going to grant you that, because I'm sitting there.
Hey, and here's the thing: in a later book, I will point to a specific thing that Confucius says that basically only solidifies that the reason why he's ambiguous about things is because he has a particular quote that's going to be coming up that I've read multiple times, and I can say it now if you want.
Go ahead.
But
I know.
yeah. What is it? If I teach a square to a student and I show my student one corner and my student can't find the other three, there's a problem.
Yes. And while I understand that, I will point out that's very fine and dandy with people who live in your fucking time and culture, you delusional fucking asshole. It's not it doesn't stay static, no matter how much you may want it to. It's never gonna stay static. We needed more.
They're just bringing back the Zhou, Li, so that everybody can learn it and that it never changes. Okay,
and that's my point. Is it's like he had such delusions of grandeur. I love him for it, because he had such actual fucking hope in humanity, and I wish I could have the same. But it's like, dude, you should have anticipated that times were going to change, and certain times you needed to not be ambiguous, you dick. Because, like, yeah, I fucking learned a lot of this shit. Despy learned a lot of this shit. Neither one of us are fucking experts, so we're probably going to get shit wrong. And there's probably experts who fucking know all about your time period who will still get it wrong. Ambiguity sucks unless you live the culture, you asshole. Sorry. And this is why I say we were going to argue with a dead guy today. Because when it really comes down to it, I get what he means, because I know the culture that he was in, and I have the history and the benefit of hindsight. That's how I can draw the conclusions that I do on some of the things that I do. But his ambiguity, well, let's be honest, absolutely stunningly fucking genius in the way that he does it, because of the way he did shape the lives of, at this time, like 58 million people, like, which is fucking not a small number at this time period, mind you. Like, this is it was genius, but it has not actually had the staying power that we have given it. And too many cultures, because they have tried to let it persist for longer, especially after its corruption, in the 50s, to it's almost become the inverse of what it used to be. And that's why it bugs me. That's why, because Ancom and I are both communists. You guys we've talked about it before, and yet both of us will push back on this, because we see the absolutely fucking bat shittery that this leads to when it's corrupted. And we know the dangers of our own side when it's fucking turned to this fucking kind of authoritarianism. And it's like a little less ambiguity, and what would the world have been different like? You know what I mean? Just think about
Yep.
like I'm not saying he needed to be fucking Alan Turing level direct, but for fuck's sake, like, how about when you
would have been nice.
For some of us, yes, but it also would have been horrible for others. But my point is it's like, at least on some of these where it's instead of using tien, use the more contextual tien tia or tencho, where you're actually bringing in that kind of like augmentation from the other fucking words around it, where you're making it obvious you mean this high court, high god, or nature, like the equivalent of big G little g on fucking God, equivalent, like just anything to be just a tad less ambiguous. The world would have been so different. It would have been so much harder to corrupt some of this stuff. You know what I mean? But that's because we have the benefit of hindsight. He could not have known this 2,500 years ago. I could still be pissed at him. And for
all right,
for before you close out, for those of you in the audience who want to like go into this, the other thing I will recommend is there's actually a play about book 3 that I would say go look into. There's it's been renamed several times, but look up play about Confucius book 3. It's abstract, but it is very beautiful, and it's a lot less boring than we get sometimes.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we're gonna close out half of book 3, and then we'll come back for the next half. Probably not next week, but maybe a week after that or so. And with that said, I am Desperado Sensei.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Ancom. Have a good one.
And we'll catch you later.
And I'm going to the intellect terms.
人为心之根，须臾乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。学而思之，习不亦明乎？思而学之，习免有殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大言；人不知而无远兮，君子之福。知之为知行，为之为不争，失之也行，圣人之教。为正于列行，别正有其所，雄心动之心，民心自负。立言切之兮，为何之？ 人为心之根系，欲乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。学而思之，奚不以明乎？思而学之，奚免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无远兮，君子之福。知之为知行，为之为不知。识之也行，圣人之教。为正于列行，别正有其所。雄心共之心，民心自负。立言谢之兮，为何之？中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之迷兮，不常看之人。小人反是兮，君子所为。人为心之根系，欲乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体